Hi guys. Okay, so it's been a while since I've made a tutorial, and before I got too far on finishing this sign, I thought I would just stop where I am in my process and go back and show you how I made this sign. It's really super quick and easy to make something like this. Okay, so obviously this isn't assembled. I have all these little pieces here that will go on when it's done. This one comes with all these little center pieces. You can decide which one you like. I've got my little center drying somewhere for the flower. I did a silver star, and then it's got a different star. I did gold. It's whatever you want to put in the centerpiece there, but okay. So let's go back and start with the base. So this sign, I'm going to show you how I paint it and also how I pattern it. Obviously, I'll be trimming this twine when I'm finished, but okay, let's go back and start with this base piece. This only took a few seconds to do, a few minutes. It's really super easy. What I do, you start with your, this is MDF, 1/8" MDF, and I use chalk paint. And just, I like this white chalk paint. It's really thick and it gives you really nice coverage. But because I wanted this to look a little more worn, I didn't need it to be really perfectly painted. So I'm just going to use a baby wipe and a little bit of chalk paint. Okay. So I'm just going to dab my wipe, get a little bit of the excess paint off. So it's on there, but it's not super thick. And then I'm just wiping it on. It's okay if it gets on the side, it wipes off really easily. You just want sort of a consistent coverage. But again, because this one, I wanted it to look a little, you know, a little vintagey. I'm not really worried about it being perfectly opaquely painted. I'm also trying not to put any excess paint in the score lines, which I did right there, but we can fix that. Usually I would try to avoid those score lines a little bit and not put extra paint because I do want them to show. Another way you could do this is pre-paint your board, and that way your score lines will be on top of the paint, so obviously they will show perfectly. So I did get in those score lines. I'm going to try to remove a little bit of the paint, but it's okay. I accentuate those score lines with some distress inks anyways. Distress inks. So really that's all I'm going to do for this backing piece. I'm okay with it looking a little uneven. That's kind of the look I'm going for with this. I do want to even out any, you know, areas that have paint that doesn't look good. But so that's really all I do. Sometimes if it needs a second coat, I'll go in and do that. And then once this dries a little bit more, I am going to use a kind of a, what am I trying to say here? kind of a harder bristle brush. You don't want something really super soft. So I'm just gonna go in and dab into my Distress ink. This is walnut. You can get these in a million different colors. Just gonna dab it in so that I have some on my brush. And I'm just gonna go over my score lines so that I'm making it look a little more, you know, kind of vintagey. I just want to accentuate those lines so that when it's finished, it looks a little more like a shiplap background. And of course, you can do this in any color. I was gonna do a backer in like a light blue, light green, whatever you want. For this one, I'm just gonna do the white like I did with my other finished sign, half finished sign. So that's basically all I'm doing to this backer. Let me show you this one. So I would just go over my lines. You can do it as dark or as light as you want. And actually, when this is fully assembled, I'll probably go in and do some of these edges also, just to add a little more color in there. So that's it for the backing piece. This top frame piece, I just used a different chalk paint. This is beige Barcelona, I guess. I wanted this kind of brown. Also, when I make these, sometimes I don't like that this top piece, it's only 1/8 inch, so you don't get a ton of depth in there. Sometimes I'll do 2 of these to make it a little bit thicker, but this one's okay for now. So, on this sign, you have the greenery piece. I just spray painted this with Dang paint. I'm not sure what the green was, but I love the Dang spray paints because you get really good coverage on your sides. So it's just gonna go like that. This backing piece does not have to be painted because it's covered. In the end, I'll go in and attach this twine just so that it's got a little interest at the top. So I painted my ornament pieces. Also, what I like to do, I like my pieces to be really super smooth. So after I paint these, I just go and give it a light sanding with either a fine grit. These yellow sanding blocks are really fine grit, so it's not going to take away too much of your paint. Or with one of these little edge sanders, I just kind of go in and sand away my edges. It's just the look that I like. Or, you know, you don't, sorry, I'm choking here. You don't have to do that. It's just how I like to do things. And then I spray painted these pieces silver. So obviously these are not glued down and perfect, but they will be. I'm going to have to paint just this circle piece on the backer. And then these were all just painted with spray paint, golds and silvers. So that's all there is to painting. Now, I also love to pattern almost everything that I make. I can see it in different patterns, so let's work on that and I'll show you exactly how you can use papers or fabric. I just happen to have a ton of Christmassy fabrics, so I'll probably be doing something with some of these patterns, or I'm gonna go through my paper selections also. You can choose whatever patterns you like. But for patterning, you don't have to pattern this backer, but if you want to, which I think I'm going to try, I would suggest using something kind of subtle. Just, you don't, I mean, maybe it would look good to have a really busy background, but I like things a little more subtle, and then you can go in and accentuate those score lines again. So I'm probably going to use a paper that, or a fabric that, this one's like a linen, or I have this one that's like, you know, script, or I guess it's sort of like newspaper looking, I'm not sure, but okay, so let me go make my pattern selections and then I'll come back and show you how we do that. Okay, so when I pattern anything, I like to cut a full set of whatever I'm working on. I have a hard time visualizing things unless I can hold it in my hands. You don't have to do this step, but it is helpful for me. And it also provides like a template, so you know how big to cut your pieces of fabric or papers, whatever you want to use. So I'm going to start with the backer. So let me grab my board. I'm just going to use a blank piece of MDF, and I'm not exactly sure what I want to do for my backing piece. I have so many stacks of fabric here. I think I just grabbed too much and I'm like a little overwhelmed with all of these choices, but usually I like to prepare a piece so that it's fully done and then I can go back and show you how I did it. This time I'm just kind of winging it, so I might not like the results, but it's okay. I think I'm going to use this for my backer. If I do a backer that's really busy and has a heavily patterned background, I'll make the ornament a lot more subtle. Let's see, like I really love this piece of fabric with the snowflakes. If I use this for my backer, then obviously I wouldn't have a really busy ornament, but I might try that later. So for now, I'm just gonna show you. So I know to cut my piece of fabric the same size, or I do it a little bit bigger than the piece I'm cutting. So let's just, okay. So you want to make it just a little bit bigger. I'm going to cut this raw edge off. It doesn't really matter, but it's bothering me. Okay. And then you're going to adhere your fabric or paper to your board, and I use Mod Podge gloss. The reason I use the gloss version is after I attach this, well, I'll show you. Oh, there's my chickens. Okay, let's just do it and then I'll show you. You're just going to use a paintbrush or whatever. I use a foam brush sometimes, and just apply a fair amount to your board. You don't want to use too much, but you don't want to use too little. Okay. I usually have like a credit card or, oh my gosh, I might have to close my door. Okay. I usually have some kind of a smoothing tool. I have like a Cricut smoothing tool. You can use a bone folder or really even just your hands. You just want to make sure that it's really flat to your board, especially if you're using paper. Thinner papers will bubble up more. You don't want any bubbles. You don't want any excess Mod Podge. You just want it super, super flat to your board. Fabric's really easy because it adheres so nicely. So once I have it on there, I'm going to apply another coat on top, just a thin coat. This thin coat, when it dries, it does say gloss, but it really isn't super glossy. But it provides sort of like a protective barrier to your fabric or your paper. So after your laser cuts, especially if you use MDF, you do get a lot of residue or some residue on your edges. And this Mod Podge gloss will let you just use a baby wipe and wipe away any residue or char that you get. Okay. So that looks good. I'm going to let it dry. I'm also going to go and start selecting all of my fabrics and my papers for the smaller pieces. And my frame, you don't have to paint or pattern your frame if you don't want to, but I think I might use this piece. And you're gonna do it the exact same way. Unfortunately, you'll waste all this center, but I'll use it for something else. Okay, maybe I'll just do a couple pieces. So I really like this. I think I might use this for my ornament. Yeah, let's try it. I might not even like these results, but it's really just playing around with, you know, different pieces to see what you like or what you envision. Actually, I think I might do the greenery piece because I know, no, I don't think I like that. This will match better. So I'm going to do the greenery piece with this. So again, you're just laying your unfinished piece on top and then cutting a swatch that will fit. I do think that I prefer to use fabric. I just like the way it glues down, and I also like that with fabric your patterns tend to be a lot smaller. I love using scrapbook paper, but the problem with that is it's usually a 12 by 12 sheet and the patterns are larger, so when you're cutting a small piece like this you lose a lot of your patterns. So I tend to use a lot of fabric instead. All right. Let me just cut this. I mean, you can be a lot more efficient with your pieces. I'm just trying to get this done. My videos to show you how quick and easy something is usually end up being way longer than they need to be. Okay. So I'm just going to do the same thing for every piece. Make some choices. And then I'm going to let my board dry. I say usually about 10 minutes, but really sometimes I've cut it when it's still just damp and it doesn't really matter. But I would suggest letting it dry maybe 10 minutes or so. And then you're going to place it in your laser. I'm using a Glowforge. I also have a Thunder, and the process is the same. If you don't have a camera on your laser, you can just use your framing. Takes a little longer, but having the camera makes it really easy. You're going to place your board in your laser and then go back to your dashboard and select all the pieces you're cutting and just lay them out on top of the pieces that you chose. Okay, I'm going to finish doing all of my patterns and then cut them and I'll come back. Okay, so I went and cut my pieces. I cut a bunch of different backing pieces and frames, just trying to decide what I like. As much as I love this busier background, I just think that the ornament won't really show very well. So I just decided on this one. It's not my favorite, but it'll work. And I went and used some distress inks along the edges of the pieces I want to use. I use these Tim Holtz distress inks. This is walnut. It's really super easy to just go around the edges and add as much or as little ink as I want. All right, so I glued down my frame already, and now I'm just going to assemble. I did paint the very top of this because that's the only part that will show. And now I'm just going to glue on the pieces of my ornament. Okay, you can use any glue that you want, any super glue or 3M. Just want to make sure it's lined up perfectly. You have a little bit of time to move it around before it's really stuck. Making sure that it's all perfectly aligned. If I have some tiny gaps, I'll just go in with a brown Sharpie and fix that. Okay, so that's good. I got a little bit of something on there. I'll try to get it out, but this is really just a sample. Okay, so I do want to use twine. Because I've already glued down my greenery, I can't go down below it, so I'll just fake it. You can use whatever you want. You can add a bow. I might add a bow to it. So I'll just put some glue there. I'll just hold it for a second. I think I will probably put a bow. First, my plan was to tie a knot and put it around the greenery, but I forgot before I glued it down, so that's okay. I don't have very much of this ribbon. I think this might be a little thick. I don't know if I like it. Anyways, that is really all there is to it. I will just finish it up, make this a little neater at the top. Actually, I forgot to glue this down and glue down the ornament so it doesn't move around. So that's all there is to patterning. And then I'm also going to assemble the painted one, and I'll add some pics at the end of this so you can see them. Hope this was helpful.